What's up, guys? Welcome back to Right Side, and welcome to another episode of the Vet Report. The biggest headline of the week, without a doubt, was the Kamala Harris Fox interview with Bret Baier. Now, going into this, I kind of had a general sense that a lot of conservatives and those on the right were some of them were kind of nervous about how Bret Baier would treat Kamala Harris, being that Bret Baier is much more of a moderate personality, at least on Fox, that is. Compared to someone like Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Jesse Waters. Of those on Fox News, Bret Baier definitely kind of positions himself as much more moderate. So I didn't really have any fear that he would hold back tough questions, but I was definitely definitely questioning how confrontational he would be regarding pressing her on stuff, letting her, wiggle away from certain things, that kind of a thing. I'm very grateful and thankful I can say that I was very pleasantly surprised. Bret asked her the tough questions that I expected him to ask her, and he didn't let her pivot. He pushed and pushed hard. He pushed her on the 3 girls that were murdered by illegal immigrants. He pushed her on the border bill that she drags all across the nation in her campaign speeches about how Trump killed the bill to bring down immigration, when all it was a glorified amnesty bill. And then he pressed her on her whole party or policy platform of being the change candidate, considering that she is currently in power and has been for 3.5 years, and Joe Biden, who is trying to slash every single tire on her campaign bus, tying her to his record with every single step of the way. He tied her to everything that Joe Biden has done, and she can't run away from issues like inflation, when she was a tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act that exploded federal spending. And when you were watching the interview, I was stunned at how he would not let her pivot. He would not let her pivot. It's funny because Trump in interviews tends to kind of go on tangents, and as he would call it, the weave, and it's kind of hard to keep him on topic sometimes. Whereas Kamala, if she thinks that she can do it, she'll try and answer the question up front, and it really, really hurts her. And without a teleprompter, she's an idiot. So I don't necessarily know how much of an impact this will have on voters, however, because no one, liberals aren't watching Fox News, and I'm not sure how many independents or undecided voters are watching Fox News. Don't get me wrong, she completely got devastated by Bret Baier. She completely embarrassed herself, and the audience of Fox News are already Trump voters. No one's watching Fox News and voting for Kamala Harris already. The clips may spread around on social media, and that might kind of move some things, but it's not like if it was done on CBS or ABC or one of the major primetime networks. But what her performance with Bret Baier's interview tells me is that in no way, shape, or form would she ever handle an interview with someone like Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan is kind of like the prized possession of interviews for Trump and Harris, considering his outstanding, unbelievable reach to moderate voters and independent voters down the middle in the center. No one has more reach to them than Joe Rogan, and I think Trump would love to go on Joe Rogan. He was on PBD podcast the other day, and Kamala could not handle Joe Rogan, because as much as Bret Baier pushed back on her, and he did terrific job, Joe Rogan would fry her on a grill with the type of pressing and questions that he would ask her, and she could not handle that. And an interview with Joe Rogan isn't something that she can, as Bret Baier said, her staffers, 4 of them, frantically waving their heads behind the camera, trying to call off the interview. She would not be able to do that with someone like Joe Rogan. And I think that's precisely why I think that this interview kind of killed her chances of ever really making an attempt to go on Joe Rogan. If you look at the podcasts that these Harris and Trump are going on, it's really telling of who they're trying to appeal to and who they think that their base is. Kamala's going on sex podcasts and The Breakfast Club and all those types of podcasts, while Trump is going on places like Logan Paul. He was on PPD. He was on the Nelk Boys. He's on all the Flagrant with Andrew Scholes. So he's going with those types of audiences, young men, the young male vote. I think it'll work tremendously. I think we're going to see the largest rightward shift in men we've seen in generations in the 18 to 29 or 18 to 24 demographic. And for good reason. And I think that young women will just flock to the left in unbelievable numbers, as they only really care about the issue of abortion and nothing really else, which is a shame. But when it comes to Kamala Harris, Fox interview, she got roasted, absolutely torched, but I'm not really sure the reach of the impact on voters and on the election more broadly. I wish it did. I really, really wish it did. But it is Fox News, and liberals aren't going to watch Fox News. Independent voters aren't really going to watch Fox News. Undecided voters are not going to watch Fox News. And this kind of just kills her opportunity to go on the Rogan, on Joe Rogan's podcast. It really hurts that likelihood. But I hope that Trump could definitely handle Joe Rogan interview. Kamala Harris can't, and if that doesn't say something to you, then I don't know what will. Next thing I want to talk about are the recent absolutely seismic shifts in the polls. Poly market is up to, last time I checked, about 60% for Trump and 40% for Kamala Harris. He's leading in Pennsylvania. He's leading in Michigan on the poly market, and the RCP rolling aggregate average has Trump leading in every single swing state. The polls are seismic in favor of Trump. They're absolutely gargantuan. And Kamala's got to be the worst candidate in the history of politics outside of Hillary Clinton. She might be worse than Hillary Clinton, but Kamala Harris is going to be so bad that the popular vote might actually be close, which is unbelievable to say. When you have states like New York, states like California, that are swinging way to the left and bringing all this urban centers turnout, in places like Los Angeles, San Francisco, of course New York City, all these places, it's crazy to think that the Ohio's, the Floridas, the Texases, the South Carolinas, all these states are really going to have strong right-wing turnout and might actually flip the popular vote. It's not a large chance, but it is a chance at this point. As I've said in previous videos, I generally don't put a lot of weight in the polls. I don't really trust them that much, especially everything that happened in 2016 favoring Hillary, 2020 favoring Biden heavily, and then seeing how close that race came out to be, and how much a lot of the polls favored Republicans in the 2022 midterms to the Republicans' demise. So when it comes to the polls, I don't really get that much weight, particularly because of the fact that the core Trump voting base, the true MAGA base, are older, rural, less tech savvy voters, and those that segment of the population is very untrustworthy of the media, of the news, and or of polling surveyors. And so they're a decent chunk of the population, of the voting population, that is. And so when you have a decent size of the voting population that will not, over their dead body, talk to a pollster or watch, believe the news, all that kind of stuff, it really becomes difficult to poll them. And thus you kind of have to correct for that in some ways. And not a lot of polling places are very good at that. That's why generally I look at polls and say, okay, if Pennsylvania is Harris +1, okay, well, that's the floor for Trump. It's at least going to go up by that, because a lot of the voting base for Trump will never be represented in those polls. Never, ever. They won't ever have their voices heard voluntarily on their behalf. So I don't necessarily know if I would believe that I don't really think this election is close. I really don't. I refuse to believe that half the country is so politically empty of a vessel that they will vote for Kamala Harris, a candidate who has zero platform, zero agenda, zero vision. Her whole campaign is a fraud. She was installed thanks to a coup. She is the change candidate despite being the current vice president of an administration where she has a lot of power. It's unbelievable how bad and empty of a candidate Kamala is. And so I can't wrap my head around a lot of this election being that close. I really can't. I mean, Trump is going to make inroads with the black vote, with the youth vote. I think the only population where he's really gonna not see a lot of kind of improvement is with the women vote. Although he is doing a town hall, I believe, in with all women, which will be very entertaining and interesting. Can't wait for that. But for right now, the polls showing a landslide victory for Donald Trump, and it's something to just keep an eye on. Don't get too comfortable. Never, ever get too comfortable. Trump is going to win the election, but just because we know that does not mean we should get complacent regarding registering voters, going on door knocking, doing all that kind of stuff. Get your friends out to the ballot box. Vote, vote, vote. We gotta swamp the vote and make it too big to rig. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button. If you guys support and help the channel grow, please subscribe and ring the bell as I update it with all my uploads. Finally, whether you agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I look forward to engaging with you guys in respectful and thoughtful discussions. With that said, I'll see you guys next video. See ya.